Hey folks, welcome back to another week of Cape Today. To start us off this Monday, Heather speaks with two ladies from SeniorCare.
I did. I talked to Hapshe and Michelle Cohen. They are part of the options counseling team at SeniorCare. It's kind of a long interview, but there's a lot of really important information in there. Kay and Michelle are the people who help you out when you're suddenly in that place that you hadn't thought you would be. Like perhaps you're bringing someone home from a nursing facility and you need a ramp, or you need to upgrade your house to sort of manage this person that you had not anticipated would need to be living at home again. And Kay even goes into stressing the fact that people should really be setting up health proxies. So it's a long interview, but there are a lot of good pieces of information in here.
Options counseling is for folks that are looking for information about how to stay home or get home. And so therefore, with options counseling, our mission is to help folks 22 and older who have an acquired disability, or our seniors 60 and older, or our caregivers for either. And so we sort of talk about the landscape of services. It's not just about what does SeniorCare do, but what does the whole landscape look like? Well, what's a VNA? A lot of people are like, what's that acronym? Visiting Nurse Association. Oh. And so that is sort of what we talk about, because it's not just SeniorCare involved in these people's lives. It could be a neighbor, could be a daughter, could be a spouse.
So you're talking to people about helping them find ways to stay in their homes or return to their homes and still get the proper care. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what other options are there besides the VNA? What are we talking about?
There's really three types of levels. There's mass health-based services, and that's for people who meet income eligibility, age eligibility, and need criteria, like, do you need help with meal prep or bathing or dressing or things like that. And so that's mass health is one, and some people know it as Medicaid. Mm-hmm. Then there's Medicare, which is when you're 65 and older and you're in the hospital, and they'll pay 80-20, the 80% of your bill, and that's usually where the visiting nurses come from. And then the third level is state subsidized services, which is where SeniorCare fits in. We provide education, we provide Meals on Wheels, we provide in-home services, but not directly. We are sort of like a subcontractor. And so therefore, what other agencies? Element Care, which provides the PACE program for elders. Mass Rehab Commission, which provides services to folks over 22 with an acquired disability. Say you're 50 and you've had a stroke and now you can't work, or it's going to be a while before you work. And you're kind of like, well, what next? Because my insurance, all of those kind of things. And then there's people that are, for example, Shine counselors that are based at the hospitals. They're usually at the Council on Aging, but with the pandemic, it's harder to see them there. But those are folks that actually help you figure out sorry.
Is that your dog or your cockatiel?
These are the dogs. I'm going to put them in. All right, guys.
Okay, we'll jump to you, Michelle. So, Michelle, thank you for being with us. And you are part of the care transition. You are a care transitions case manager, right?
Yep.
So you want to describe the work you do?
Sure. So I also actually do a lot of options counseling. So care transitions and options counseling are kind of one and the same. Essentially, I tend to meet more people who are in nursing facilities. I also do, speak with people who are in the community as well, but my role is specific to nursing homes. So I can, oftentimes right now more, telephonically, before it was in person. But basically, people will make referrals, whether it's social workers, family, the consumer themselves. And like Kay had mentioned, for options counseling, we do work with people 22 and above. So sometimes I'll be working with people in nursing facilities that are maybe, 50, maybe they're 80. It really just, it depends. So basically just speaking with people based on, questions that they have, helping connect them to resources. A lot of the times, people are wanting to discharge home, want to, know what services are going to be available to them when they discharge, and that differs, based on the over 60 and under 60. Care transitions is specific to people who are 60 years and older, or somebody who's under 60 who has a diagnosis of dementia. And the role of care transitions is to basically help people discharge back into the community. So when I do care transitions, it often starts off as options counseling. So, meeting with or speaking with the consumer, their family, the nursing home, to try to figure out, okay, what are these person's needs? What are they going to need to go home? Care transitions, we want to make, discharges as successful as possible. So our goal is safety. What is going to make this person safe in their home, so that when they do discharge, they're not going to, end up back into the facility. So that's kind of, it will start up as options, but kind of transition to care transitions. And that's when I'm actively, working with people to help with the discharge, to coordinate their services, to figure out, what referrals do I need to put into place. And it's really dependent on the person, obviously, depending on, the level of care that they need. Do they have informal support? So like family members who can help out, looking at, are there issues with medication management? Do they have all the adaptive equipment that they need? Do we need to put in any sort of like transfer bath benches or grab bars, or maybe they need, a walker when they go home. So it really ranges. It really just depends on the person, but that's basically the active transition of getting somebody from the facility back into their home. And then once somebody is home from the facility, we will end up following them ongoing. Typically, we'll end up transferring them to, a different ongoing care manager. But I'll typically follow them through the process of, before the facility, the transition, and then afterwards. And then once everything's kind of, settled down, we got everything into place, that's when they'll end up, moving into, home care with an ongoing care manager.
So now you are a part of the SeniorCare Inc. team. So what geographic area does this cover for? So what facilities are you covering in what range?
Sure. So SeniorCare, we work with 9 different towns and cities. So it's all the way from Rockport to Topsfield. And so we have 7 nursing facilities in our catchment area. Specifically, we have Masconomet in Topsfield. In Beverly, we have Blueberry Hill, Essex Park, and Ledgewood. Gloucester, we have Gloucester Healthcare in Seacoast. And Rockport, we have Denmark. And I think that hopefully covered all 7 of them.
Yeah, yeah. So if there is, traditionally, how does the client contact you? Is it a family member that contacts you? Is it the facility that you're just in constant communication with, that they will connect you to the client? How does that work?
Yeah, so it really depends. We get referrals from all different types of places. Oftentimes, we do see nursing facilities, so that all the facilities have social workers. So, once the social workers become familiar with, what we do at SeniorCare, we will start seeing referrals from the social worker saying, hey, I have somebody looking to go home. Can you please connect with them, their daughter, son, whoever, to help this transition process. Sometimes it will be the consumer themselves. Maybe they spoke with someone and someone was like, oh, you should call SeniorCare to inquire about this. Sometimes the son, daughter. So it really depends. It's pretty vast in terms of, who the referral source is going to be.
Mm.
I'd like to add one piece in terms of that. It's not necessarily all folks from the nursing home too. It's someone who's had a change in status in the community. We are not necessarily present for the rest of their time. We are, we come in, we provide information, and we step back.
Mm. And how has your job been, I'm sure there have been many challenges with COVID. One is you probably have to do so much virtually. So do you want to talk about that, how your job has changed and the services have changed?
Yeah, so primarily, I was really doing a lot of face-to-face with options counseling. Sometimes people will refer just to have conversations over the phone. Sometimes people prefer email. But often there would be people say, hey, I'd like to have a face-to-face visit. So obviously with care transitions, right now I'm not going into any nursing facilities. That kind of stopped probably I don't know, sometime in March, we had stopped going in. And right now, we're really not going to do any in-home visits unless there's, a really necessary reason that we do need to go. So a lot of it right now has been on the phone. So, speaking with the consumer, oftentimes there's going to be an informal support that I work with. So communicating with the family member via phone, via email. We do have the capacity to, try to do like a Zoom meeting. And we've been talking about, different ways that maybe we can enhance our communication specifically with the nursing facilities. Trying to, see if there's a way that we can really have more of that face-to-face contact. Because certainly I think it definitely adds a level of difficulty, especially for the consumer, to talk on the phone with us to kind of understand that. So we're trying to think of ways that we can, enhance the communication on both ends.
Mm. And I would imagine that particularly the ability to see their living situation and understand what their needs are there. They may not know what they need, and you can see it better, right? Yeah.
Right. So that can definitely be difficult. I think at this, we're kind of relying on either them or a family member to be able to provide us with accurate information. So far, I would actually say it's been going pretty well with the consumers and the families that I have worked with, since March, and going through this. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more difficult not being able to have that like eyes on and being able to catch things that maybe someone doesn't say. One of the ways that we were able to, I think, gather more information is by being able to, physically go see somebody's, their physical status, how they look, their physical environment. So we are unfortunately missing, those aspects right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to chime in there with regard to that sort of view. There's a whole home modification program that the state has for seniors that will loan them sometimes at 0% money to make these major modifications. Because we are not safety assessors, but for example, you might know you need a ramp. You just know. And so on that aspect, there's a program like that. Then there's fraternal groups that provide reused equipment. So the Elks and the Masons, they have gobs of stuff that we call and say, I need a hospital bed. And so that gives people access to things. And I think a good example for the hospital bed is I had a neighbor who knows where I work. His wife fell. She couldn't go to her bedroom upstairs. They fully expected she would recover, but he was like, well, what do we do? So he said, we don't really need any help, and so I said, well, you could get a hospital bed. He goes, yeah, but we're not eligible for one. And I said, no, but you can borrow one. And so he got over to the Masons. I gave him a beautiful hospital bed, got it in. She used it for like 2 months, and then they returned it with a little donation. You don't have to donate, but they were very grateful. And because a lot of these things aren't covered, aren't paid for. And there's even an on-site group called Mass Match that's called Re-Equip, and they have a whole litany of things that people can look and scroll through to see if they can match with someone who, and then go get it.
So clearly, you guys are a great resource if someone is just stumbling in that kind of territory to go to and to give this kind of advice, right?
Yes.
And they should go to the SeniorCare SeniorCare Inc. site, or should they go specifically to the Options Counseling site? What would that be?
The short answer is call SeniorCare. I'm sure you're posting our phone number. Ask for information and referral, ask for options, whoever, but you'll get routed to information and referral. They'll then do some basic questioning to figure out what kind of, who do you need, who would be best to talk to you. Okay. And then they'll route it to us to talk. But truthfully, we've all had people call us because they heard our name, and and so it's any door in is fine.
And again, you're starting with the age group is 22 and up. So even younger people with disabilities or issues, right?
Exactly. Because, for example, disabled folks a lot of times don't even know about the Disability Resource Center, which is based in Salem. And their job is like basically nothing about us without us. That's their mission. And they do a lot of great work in the community on helping people maneuver what's out there. And it's a self-sufficient type of help, so they're not going to do it for you. But at the same point, if you've had a stroke and you've never had services, talking to us first might help guide you. And then you can determine where and what is next.
And just to sort of put a summary on all this in the context of COVID, how do you feel the community you work with is doing right now? Are you seeing that this population particularly stressed by COVID and trying to maneuver all these programs, or is it kind of standard care at this point?
What do you think, Michelle?
I mean, I think that, it really depends. I feel like there's definitely been a lot of different responses that we've seen. I definitely, in terms of like the consumers, I think obviously there's been a level of, anxiety about, maybe having in-home support. So, we have had some consumers who, have chosen to suspend services. On the opposite end, we've seen a lot of family being able to kind of, help out more. Maybe they have some more time, or maybe they just feel it's better that, the circles are closed. So we have been seeing that there's been a lot more family support, which has been, really wonderful to see. In terms of services, there's definitely, been an effect on the workforce. With AIDS going into home, there's also, a level of anxiety on that end. But we are starting to see, a turnaround. It seems that the workforce has been coming back much more. It seems that we're, able to, be able to provide the level of services that people need. With that being said, there have been resources all along that SeniorCare, easily is able to, go ahead and set up for people, like the Meals on Wheels program, the Lifeline personal emergency response system, services like that. We have been able to, continue with very, very easily. It was the aid shortage that was a little bit of a difficulty, but we've been working through that, and it seems to be, getting much better at this point in terms of, providing services to people in the community.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear. So anything else you would like the community to understand about your work?
Yes, I have actually noticed so many people have not a thought about planning. Someone who has an attorney and a lot of resources may have an estate plan and got it all done. Someone who doesn't have a lot of resources might think they don't need to. So we run into so many people that don't have a healthcare proxy. The healthcare proxy doesn't know they're the healthcare proxy. So we work with Honoring Choices on helping people figure out who, what, why. We talk about power of attorneys. And it's not so much whether you have a will, but do you have someone on your checking account to help you? So that if you can't pay your bills in a particular time period, can someone help you out? And then there's the folks that are very isolated. The family's very far away, or maybe they don't have family. And so then they're like, well, fine, I can't even list an emergency contact. What do I do? And so we talk about pairing up with the fellow in the community who might be in a similar circumstance. So you could be each other's healthcare proxy. But I also do find this, though, when I go into wealthy homes, in the sense that the children don't know what. The children live all over the United States often. The people are in their 80s. The homes are very well taken care of typically, but then no healthcare proxy. No, my children don't know what I want. Or three, no, we don't really have anyone to talk to about these kind of things. Why should we? And so the answer is so that you're prepared when, like, the pandemic has made things more difficult. So if your healthcare proxy knows who they are, it makes it easier for them to guide you, because all of that. But planning in general is quite deficient in terms of who wants to think about these days needing that help. A lot of people hope, frankly, that their end will be speedy and quick. That's not always the case, and life can be very pleasant with other supports. Like, a lot of elders are afraid of hospice. We talk about hospice a lot, in the sense that hospice no longer means you're going to die in 2 weeks. They provide all sorts of resources. They have aides, they have nurses, they have clergy people, they have music therapists, they have pet therapists. It's really remarkable what they can bring to the table to help your quality of life, because you may have a terminal diagnosis, but it might be 6 months before you're seriously in need of a lot of things. So it's a way in to getting your life at home the way you want with the people around you. And that's where I feel senior care and care transitions and all these other partners in the community, our job is to share that they're out there. You may not need senior care, but you might need, the Disability Resource Center.